Here to talk more about the Panthers gameplay heading into Week 3 is our Jorge Andres, host, of course, of QC3. But football, a big part of your life. Tell us more about that.
Well, thank you, Jamie, for having me on. Football has been my bread and butter for a long time in my career. I not only did I play football in high school and in college at George Mason, but also I was the lead analyst for Super Bowl 56 in booth for Telemundo's national network, as well as the play-by-play voice for the Washington Football Club back in 2008 to 2010. I've covered the league for over 17 years, and football has always been my bread and butter, whether it's breaking down plays or whether it's calling games when I called games back when they were the Washington Redskins many years ago.
Which is all to say, you can look at tape and you can see things that a lot of us can't see. And I know you've been watching a couple of things going on with the Panthers so far this year, and you can break them down for us.
100%. You talk about Coach Reich's offensive plan. Well, Coach Reich's offensive plan has always depended on the tight ends, whether that's one tight end, two tight ends, or three tight ends. Let me show you what I'm talking about. When I'm talking about two tight ends, three tight ends, we'll play back to this game with the Saints. If you notice, we got one tight end here to the left, and we'll start seeing some motion. Now, Bryce Young sees the motion, fakes the run, drags on over here, and then finds his receiver with that crossing pattern with that drag to be able to make it work. Now, why is that important? Because when you were a young young quarterback, trying to establish consistency, trying to establish confidence, you need that extra protection. Later in the same quarter, with 3 minutes left, again, this time, instead of a chip and a route, he stays in, the tight end does, to give him that extra coverage. Same type of play, and this time Adam Thielen comes around and makes that reception. We're talking about 10 to 11 yards. Highlight Thielen over here, dragging, crossing pattern, not going too deep, not making it too difficult for your quarterback to find you. Why is that important? Because then later in the game against New Orleans, as they try to mount a comeback, now you can spread them out with two receivers. You see the defensive backs now playing a little bit of zone. Bryce Young then has to play the triangle game. What do I mean by the triangle game? The triangle game of where to drop the ball. If you see it right here, defender, defender, defender. This is the open space right here where Bryce Young drops that ball and gets the ball closer to the end zone. They end up scoring on that drive, and they end up getting very close to mount the comeback. Now, whether it's Bryce Young, whether it's Andy Dalton, it doesn't matter, because that's the type of offense that Frank Reich runs. That's the type of offense that he does. Now, Andy Dalton is arguably the best backup, in my opinion, in the entire NFL. Even though he's a veteran, he is going to have to establish consistency. He is going to have to establish some confidence in this new offense. So as Andy Dalton gets comfortable, even if it's for a week or two, it will establish that. And then in the future, Bryce Young can get that type of confidence, get that type of consistency to really start playing in to that offense. Then we'll see tight ends start running routes, maybe chip blocks and then running routes, and we'll see him start expanding that ball deeper and deeper, like we saw with that last play in the fourth quarter.
What you're telling me too here, the timing of all this, fractions of a second, will close that window and not make that opportunity for that play.
That's the biggest difference between D3, D2, D1, FCS, FBS, and the NFL. Everything just gets faster and faster. And even though Bryce Young is a great quarterback that played at Alabama, an SEC school, the speed needs to get there. It's a learning curve. So you help them out in the beginning with a little extra protection, with a little extra blocking. That's why you keep the tight ends. Then you graduate to maybe a chip and release. Then you graduate to, okay, now we can sling it. Now we can find it.
We just learned something here tonight. All right, great stuff. Appreciate you stopping by.
Thank you, Jamie.